All right, so today we're diving headfirst into a really dense but fascinating philosophical text. I want you to think of this as an intellectual adventure, okay? We're taking a journey right into the mind of someone grappling with all the chaos of the modern world.
And right from the very first line, wow, we're immediately thrown off balance. This is not a gentle start at all. It's like a deep plunge into a total existential mystery. You're left asking, who is this person? What could possibly bring someone to this point of feeling so disconnected from themselves? That single sentence right there, it just sets the tone for everything to come.
So, where does all this despair come from? Well, it starts with a pretty familiar idea, but a really powerful one. It's a philosophical crisis that's been echoing for, the last century and a half? We're talking about that exact moment when the very foundation of meaning in the Western world just collapsed. But here's the thing. For our narrator, this isn't just some abstract idea you'd read about in a textbook. No, the death of God is a deeply personal torment. It's like a wound that's left this huge, gaping hole in the world. It's the reason his reality feels completely drained of any meaning or purpose. Okay, so out of this crisis, a journey begins. And what makes this so compelling, is that it's happening on two levels. It's a literal physical trip, but it's also this deep philosophical quest. He's looking for an answer, or maybe, just maybe, an escape from the pain of living in this godless world. And that's what's so interesting, right? This isn't all just happening inside someone's head. The abstract philosophical journey is anchored to a very real trip. He goes from Paris to Giverny, which, as you know, is the home of the artist Claude Monet. So this physical movement becomes a perfect mirror for his internal chaos. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Look at this internal conflict. On one hand, he's on his way to see the sublime, beautiful art of Monet, this creator of eternal beauty. But what's he listening to? Jim Morrison, the chaotic rebel, right? It's such a brilliant contrast, and it perfectly shows the two poles that are just pulling at his soul, this calm, serene creation on one side and total wild rebellion on the other. And you can already tell this journey is changing him. The lines are starting to get really blurry. Is he on some path to enlightenment, or is he actually descending into madness? The thing is, he can't even tell the difference himself. And that uncertainty, that's absolutely central to his whole philosophy. So, in the middle of all this chaos, our narrator isn't completely alone. He starts to find guides. Some are people, some are just concepts that help him navigate this madness. And through them, he starts to build a completely new worldview. He has this encounter with a really mysterious figure named Grace. But who is she? Is she a real person? A hallucination? Maybe a metaphor? When he asks her who she is, her answer is just profound. She says, "I am you." So Grace, it seems, represents this deep internal connection, a reflection of his own self that's there to guide him through the darkness. And this brings us to what is maybe the central concept of the whole text, something called avjakt. It's this really enigmatic, fundamental force. Try to think of it less as a thing and more like the silent, unseen potential behind everything. It's a source of all manifestation, but it has no form itself. It's totally beyond logic, and you can't even feel it directly. It's a tricky one. So you're probably wondering, how do we even begin to grasp something so abstract? Well, the text gives us a few clues. Avjakt is described as the power that drives our search for knowledge. It's that gut feeling, that intuition that guides us toward truth. It's also a state of being where we can just let go and collapse. And, a lot like grace, it becomes the ultimate source of what is sacred, of sanctity, in a universe where God is gone. All right, so this whole search for deeper truth, it leads our narrator to his most radical idea yet. He starts to see madness not as some illness that needs to be cured, but as a powerful, perceptive, and deeply creative force. A force that he believes modern society has totally and wrongly suppressed. He doesn't just stop there, he actually categorizes it. For him, there are these four noble paths of madness. You've got the spiritual madness for God, then there's the passionate madness for love, the creative madness for art, and then finally, what he sees as the highest form, the philosophical madness you get from pursuing avjakt. And I gotta say, this slide, for me, just brilliantly illustrates his core argument. He draws this stark contrast between the Renaissance, a time when, he says, madness was accepted as this force that produced geniuses like Da Vinci, and our modern era.
His argument is that today we've tamed madness with reason. We treat it like a mental illness, and in doing that, we've created this massive void where genuine creativity and passion used to be.
And that's really the conclusion he comes to. For the narrator, you can only find true harmony when you let go of rationality's tight grip. He really believes it's only when we embrace unreason that a deeper, more authentic reality can finally be revealed.
So all of this brings our journey full circle. We're right back at the central problem that started this whole thing. But now there's a new and much more urgent challenge.
The text brings up that famous question from Nietzsche, from the parable of the madman. With God gone, this immense burden falls squarely on our shoulders. To fill that void, to even be worthy of the act of killing God in the first place, humanity itself has to create a whole new kind of meaning, a whole new level of being.
And this, right here, reveals the core problem we're left with. Society might have killed God, but it never dealt with the body. And as the narrator puts it in this really chilling way, that body is still here, unburied, and it's rotting. He argues that this spiritual decay is the real source of our modern sickness. It's a void that we absolutely have to confront before we can ever hope to move on.
Which, of course, leaves us with the big question from the title of the book. If the old source of meaning is dead, and its absence is basically poisoning us, then who's responsible for the burial? Who's going to clear the way and take on the absolutely monumental task of creating new values for a world without God? That's the challenge this text leaves us all to think about.